Hello, my friends. Before we begin, I invite you to pause and open not just your ears but your heart. Today, I want to share with you a story. Not a loud story, not a famous one, but a quiet story about a boy who had almost nothing and yet gave everything he had. He didn't speak loudly. He didn't wear new clothes. He didn't stand on any stage. But still, he changed the world around him. Not with power, not with money, but with something far more powerful: his heart. This is the story of the silent hero. So let's listen, slowly, simply, and with meaning. There was a boy named Eli. He lived in a small village in the north of America, surrounded by green rice fields and quiet hills. His house was made of wood. It had no fan, no fridge, and just one small table to study. Every day, Eli woke up at 5 a.m. He washed his face with cold water, put on his old school uniform, and walked 5 kilometers to school, even when it rained or when his shoes were broken. But Eli never complained. He never said, "Why me?" He only smiled and told his parents, "I'm lucky. Some children don't get to go to school." That simple sentence, spoken with the innocence of a 5th-grade boy, left his parents speechless. They weren't wealthy. They had no electricity, no internet, no television. But they had Eli, a boy whose heart shone brighter than any lamp. Despite the hardship, Eli was always grateful. Each morning, when his mother handed him a dry bread roll wrapped in old newspaper, he bowed his head and said softly, "Thank you, me." That small act, done every day without fail, was more than good manners. It was a ritual of gratitude, a reminder that even the simplest meal was a gift. His bread was dry, but his heart was full. On rainy days, when classmates stayed under warm blankets, Eli pulled on his thin, torn raincoat, the same one he had worn for 3 winters. It didn't keep him dry, but it didn't stop him either. He walked 5 kilometers to school, his feet wet, his books protected under his shirt. He never arrived late, never made excuses, because Eli didn't go to school just to pass tests. He didn't dream of trophies or grades. He dreamed of understanding, of knowing why the sky was blue, how numbers worked, what words could build. And deep inside, he held a secret mission: to come home each day and teach his little sister. At night, they sat on the floor under a dim lamp. Eli, barely older than her, would carefully explain what he had learned: how to read a sentence, how to spell a word, how to solve a math problem with pebbles. He didn't just want to escape poverty. He wanted to lift someone else with him. That's why he studied. Not to compete, but to serve. And even when he was tired, or hungry, or cold, he never let those things steal his joy for learning. Because to Eli, learning wasn't a duty. It was a privilege, one that he held gently, gratefully, and gave away freely. At school, Eli wasn't the smartest or the most popular. He didn't raise his hand often. He wasn't the star of the talent shows. He didn't stand out in grades, or games, or group photos. But everyone knew him. He was the boy who stayed behind when the bell rang. While others ran to the playground, Eli stayed, quietly, purposefully. He wiped the chalkboard clean. He aligned the chairs, even the ones no one cared about. He picked up crumpled papers on the floor, and placed forgotten books back on the shelf. He did all of this not to be seen, not to be praised, but because he believed: if I leave this room better than I found it, then I've done something good today. He collected old notebooks that others threw away. Some had torn pages. Some were almost full. But to Eli, each blank space was still a place for learning. He carefully trimmed the used parts, bound them together with string, and made his own notebooks, page by page, silently. No one asked him to. No one told him he should. But he did it, because he cared. Because for Eli, respect wasn't just for people, it was for places, for moments, for learning itself. And slowly, without ever trying to impress, Eli earned the quiet respect of his teachers. Not with words, but with his steady hands and gentle heart. In every classroom, there's a student you barely notice, until one day you realize they've been holding the class together all along. For Eli, that was simply who he was. One day, the teacher asked the class, "What are you most thankful for?" Most students wrote things like, "My new shoes," "My birthday gift," "The weekend." But Eli's paper was different. His words were simple, but they carried the weight of quiet wisdom. "I'm thankful for my strong legs to walk to school. I'm thankful for my teachers who teach me word by word. I'm thankful for life because each morning I wake up, I get another chance to learn something new." The classroom was quiet as the teacher read it aloud. No one laughed. No one rolled their eyes. Because in that moment, Eli's words touched something in everyone. The teacher held back tears. She had taught for over 20 years, but never had a child reminded her so clearly why she became a teacher in the first place. That afternoon, she pinned Eli's essay on the school bulletin board. She didn't put his name, but everyone knew who had written it. The next day, something changed. A boy who often complained about his lunch gave half of it to another student. A girl who usually talked back to the teacher stayed after class to help clean. And slowly, Eli's gratitude became contagious. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. It reminded everyone, we don't need more to be thankful. We just need clearer eyes and softer hearts. Later, when the school launched a campaign to collect books for students in need, Eli brought his only dictionary, a precious gift from a distant relative. The teacher asked, "Eli, are you sure? That's the one you use." Eli smiled and replied, "Another student may need it more. I can borrow one from the library." That quiet generosity made Eli unforgettable. He didn't try to change the world. He simply lived with gratitude. And in doing so, he changed his school. Classmates became more caring. Teachers felt more inspired. And Eli's parents, though still poor, felt like the richest people on earth. Eli was quiet, but his actions spoke louder than words. He cleaned the board. He shared notebooks. He tied the shoes of younger students and helped them find lost pencils. When a student sat alone at lunch, Eli would sit nearby in silence, offering his presence. When someone forgot homework, Eli would whisper, "It's okay. Next time you'll remember." He never raised his hand just to show off. But he always stayed after class to help others with math problems. One day, a boy dropped his lunch. Everyone laughed. But Eli walked over, handed him his own lunchbox, and said, "We can share." That moment changed how the whole class saw kindness. On another rainy afternoon, the classroom was noisy as the teacher was late. Eli quietly picked up a broom and began sweeping. Slowly, the noise faded. One by one, others joined him. Without saying a word, Eli taught everyone the power of quiet leadership. By year's end, Eli had won no medals, no certificates, no applause. But he had won something more important, hearts. The principal said at the closing ceremony, "Every generation has one student who leads not with noise, but with love." For us, that student is Eli. One by one, students approached Eli to thank him. A little girl gave him a folded note. "You helped me find my pencil. It had my sister's name. She passed away. That pencil means everything." A boy whispered, "You gave me your sandwich. I hadn't eaten all day." Even the janitor smiled and said, "The bins were always empty before I arrived. I knew it was you, Eli." That night, as his mother tucked him in, she asked, "Are you happy, Kanyu?" Eli replied, "I didn't get a medal. But maybe I gave one to everyone else." And he did. Not a medal of gold, but a medal of kindness. A legacy of quiet strength that no storm could erase. Another day, the teacher saw Eli give away his cold lunch, rice and a boiled egg, to a smaller boy. "Why?" the boy asked. Eli smiled and said, "Because I had breakfast." He didn't. Later, when asked, "Aren't you hungry too?" Eli replied, "I'm used to a little hunger. But I don't want others to feel that." One cold evening, Eli walked to the village library to review for his exam. But there was a power cut, total darkness. He didn't give up. He lit a small candle from his bag and began to study. The village guard saw him, ready to scold. But he stopped, seeing the boy, quietly mouthing formulas in the candlelight. He said nothing, just stood there. By the next day, Eli's story had spread. The village was small, but word moved fast, from the library guard to the shopkeeper, from the baker to the village chief. People didn't talk about the candle. They talked about the boy behind it, the boy who didn't give up, even when the room was dark. The boy who chose to learn, even when no one was watching. Soon, a solar lamp was donated to the library. No one knew exactly who gave it, just that it arrived quietly like Eli's actions. The lamp wasn't just light. It was a message. If one child still wants to learn, we will not let him learn in the dark. After that, the shelves were no longer empty. Old books were brought from other towns. Used textbooks, storybooks, and even blank notebooks began to appear. The librarian had to find extra space for the children who now stayed past sunset. And the children came, not just for books, but for something they had never seen before, a spark of possibility. If Eli could do it, maybe they could too. If Eli could study with just a candle, they could study under a real light. A small group of students began meeting every evening. They called it the Candle Circle. They helped each other with homework. They read aloud for the younger ones. And each time someone turned on that solar lamp, they remembered who lit the first flame. It wasn't a government program. It wasn't a charity project. It was just one child with a candle, and the courage to use it. Years later, people would still say, the light in this library didn't come from a machine. It came from a boy with a broken shoe, a quiet voice, and a heart that refused to give up. Years passed. Eli earned a scholarship to study in the city. Life there was fast, noisy. But Eli remained the same, humble, quiet, and full of purpose. He became a teacher. And after graduation, he returned to his village. He didn't forget his roots. He helped build a better school with books, electricity, and chairs. He taught not with loud words, but with presence, patience, and heart. His students whispered, "Mr. Eli never shouts, but we always listen. He doesn't give money. He gives time. He doesn't call himself a hero, but he is one." Eli never appeared on TV. He never won national awards. But he lit more than a room. He lit minds. He lit hearts. He was a silent hero. The kind who doesn't change the world with noise, but with love, with light, and with quiet strength. And now I ask you, what did you feel as you listened to this story? Did it remind you of someone from your past? A teacher who stayed after class to help you when others gave up? A grandparent who never said much, but always made you feel safe? A quiet friend who stood by you when no one else did, and never asked for anything in return? Or maybe you are that person. The one who helps when no one notices. The one who stays up late to support others, even when you're tired. The one who chooses compassion, even when it's easier to walk away. You don't wear a cape. You don't hold a spotlight. But you carry something far more powerful, a heart that gives without conditions. A soul that listens when the world is too loud. A light that stays, even when everything else fades. If that's you, the world needs you more than ever. Because today, kindness is rare. And true kindness, the silent kind, is revolutionary. Your light, no matter how small, matters. Because even the tiniest flame can guide someone home. Even the quietest voice can heal a hurting heart. And even a single act of love can ripple into a lifetime of change. So don't underestimate your presence. Don't wait to be noticed. Don't wait to be perfect. Just be real. Be gentle. Be present. In a world full of noise, it is the quiet hearts that echo the longest and the deepest. So maybe today, you can be the candle in someone's dark room. Maybe your smile, your kindness, your patience will be the reason someone doesn't give up. Seedling, every act of kindness is a seed. And seeds grow, slowly, silently, beautifully. Thank you for listening, with your ears and with your heart. If this story touched you, glowing star like the video speech balloon, leave a comment. We read them all. Pushpin and subscribe for more simple English stories that feed your soul, not just your mind. See you next time in the next story, where words are simple but meanings go deep.